what's going on, everybody? Nicky D here, coming to Live Man yet again. Today we're on break again, and this is gonna be a new standard, I think. So next Purge movie, you knew it was coming. Now I've seen this like almost a week ago. Okay, so it's almost in the back of my mind as a blur. All right, but we're talking about the first Purge. So this is like, I think, the 4th iteration now in the series. So it goes like the first Purge movie isn't even called the first Purge. It's just called the Purge, and then it's Anarchy, election year, first Purge. Okay, so the first Purge again kind of delves into the political aspect heavily in the movie. We're gonna spoil it, but before we do, I want to give an overall rating before we get into it. I think it was crap. I really do. At best I would have gave it a 2 out of 5. And that would be, in my opinion, a fairly generous rating for what we're about to discuss. So let's get into it. Spoilers now coming ahead, and hopefully I put screenshots above of what I'm talking about. I don't even remember one character's name, by the way. They were that forgettable to me. So this movie, again, is the first Purge. It's like Staten Island or whatever it's called there, and they're gonna do it specifically on the island and then be like, okay, let's see how that goes, and then initiate from there. So the main cast is in basically all minorities, which is fine. I have no problem with that. But we'll get into more of that, why that's probably a little bit of a problem later. But keep that in mind that basically the entire cast is either like black or Mexican. There's really no in between. And the more government side is like white, and I think there's like an Asian lady. So I just want to throw that out there now. I've no problems with it. That's perfectly fine. But it's interesting later on in the movie, okay? And we'll get to it. So yeah, so how it works out though is the first Purge, like I said, is the initial Purge, okay? So they haven't done anything yet. The government, there's always a shady government guy. I'll put him on screen. So he kind of has the idea that we're gonna throw this out there. And in the initial amount of, before the Purge starts up, we start building up a couple characters, okay? So I'll just refer to them as whatever the hell I think they are. So basically there's like the young brother who's like, probably a teenager, and he kind of gets like scuffed up a little bit by this like whacked looking guy. Literally, I don't even know what he had on his face, but we'll put it on screen. He's got like scars or something. The guy looked insane, right? So anyway, so he's clearly going to be a problem later on, right? At this like drug dealing corner. Now, there's another fella that I think was actually the main actor, one of the main actresses there. I think it's like her ex or something. I didn't even know, to be honest. I stopped watching this movie like 3/4 in. I just couldn't do it anymore. So he's kind of made out, obviously, right away. Like, he clearly runs some like drug dealing, some gang, something, right? All of the above, in my opinion. And yeah, he's kind of like your main character, basically. Like, it's hilarious. So anyway, so they have some dilemmas going back and forth, but he makes it clear that he's not leaving because it's his business and whatever, and we'll protect it. So again, first Purge never happened before. So when the Purge initially kicks off, like especially in the first movie, it's very eerie because you see that people are walking around and they're looking in like the rich neighborhoods. And how this one goes out is when it first starts, nothing really happens right away, right? Like that's because it's new. Nobody knows really what to do. But what they do is they interview people, and they get this idea of like what, they're like, hey, are you prone to violence? And like the young teenager guy's like, yeah, I'm looking for vengeance. And they're like, perfect. So what they do is they give them like contact lenses, and they're like, wear these contacts that are like these like neon blue, and we can see what you're doing, so we can like put it on the TV basically. I don't know if they actually told them that in the interview, but that's what they do. I think they looked really dumb, but that's besides the point. So the Purge starts out, I don't know why, by the way, too, in these Purge movies, you never really see like a lot of robbing. Like, I think that would be very, very, very common in the Purge. I think a lot of people would be like, hell yeah, I'm gonna go hit Apple, right? Like the Apple store. And I'm gonna take every iPad I can, like me and my boys, right? We're gonna load up grocery carts, and that's all we're gonna do. We're gonna rob and take them, right? I'm gonna get the newest outfit tomorrow that I couldn't afford, and I don't pay anything. Right? We don't see that in the movies. That's actually just a criticism of all of them. It's always just comes down to basically murder. So anyway, so the purge starts, and the crazy guy from the beginning with the stuff all over his face there, the scars or whatever, randomly stabs some guy. So they throw that onto the news. They're like, hey, we're going to show you. So they're trying to get people like motivated, the evil white people there in the movie. And again, we'll come to that in a minute, in 2 minutes or something. But yeah, so they put it up on the news, and there's the one girl, the one white lady, I can't remember her name, but she like clearly doesn't, I think she was the one who started the purge, but then wasn't really cool with the fact that they're just going to be sending in military, which is obviously what they do. Again, we'll get to in a minute. So he kills Buddy, and they broadcast it all over the news, and they're not happy with what's happening. So what happens is they suddenly see this big influx of gangs and stuff showing up. And it's so like comical because a lot of them are like fairly geared up and armed and like, you know, like they've got good weaponry, which doesn't make a lot of sense if you think about it, because it could be very obvious to anybody what's going on. And the main characters catch on fairly quickly that this is not like, these are not like random people. Like they are clearly hired to come in. And I think it was, I can't remember actually, I might be wrong. It might have been election year, but I think it was this one. And I could be actually incorrect on this. And if I am, maybe I'll put a comment on the screen right now if I am incorrect. I'll look it up after. But I'm pretty sure they hired people to come in like out of country, like it was like Russians and stuff. And they come in, and it's like when they come off the plane, it's like international purgers, because it's like people who actually want to come here and do it and not face any consequences and then just fly home. So that's kind of the idea, which was, I think that was interesting. So anyway, this movie, when they roll out all the militia and everything, as you kind of expect, it turns out to an absolute crap fest of just an action movie. You know, there's really nothing, I don't even know, there's nothing like genuine to me about it, you know. So there's basically like a group of people, every time in the movies, right, that doesn't want to fight and that wants to hide, and a group of them do in a church, and they put a big sign, they're like pray instead of purge or something. So that's their idea, right? They're gonna hide in this church, and they're gonna camp it out, which is fine. And they obviously just get eradicated off screen. Like someone just comes in with like an LMG and kills them all, and there's always like one little group of survivors, right? Like 6 people that get out, right? And I didn't really care for them. They get into their apartment building. They're running through the streets, right? And you see everything you normally would see in the Purge movie. Like, you know, people are starting to kill. There's even a Purge party, and the crazy guy comes up and just starts like murdering people. He gets like 2 kills before anyone even starts noticing. He's just like stabbing people to death. And I don't know why they're having a Purge party like in the middle of the street. Like they could literally just be all killed. So anyway, so the young guy runs away. Like he tries to fight this guy and obviously loses, and then just runs. You know, it's hilarious because obviously he chokes, like he's not going to shoot him or anything. So yeah, and then he gets chased by other people, but eventually he gets up with his sister. They get into the apartment and they lock the doors and everything. They hide it out, which is all fine and dandy. I have nothing wrong with that. And then this militia is noted to go to their apartment building. Now, before we talk about the militia, the main black guy, I can't even think of his name, but like the drug dealer guy, let's call him drug dealer. He's been just like eradicating these militia. Like I don't understand, right? So they go to like save their like buddies at a shop. They're just walking in the street with guns out, and they're just gonna shoot them. And I was like, all right, like they clearly ran out of ammo, so they're just gonna slowly walk to the door and kill them slowly. Well, they throw like a smoke bomb, and none of them actually do anything. They don't react, and then Buddy just walks in, and he's just like holding a machine gun like this, like upside down, and shoots behind him and kills Buddy. And I was cackling in the movie. I couldn't fathom how that worked. Like, I don't know. Like, they always hire these people that are no better than like a street thug, but apparently are militia, you know? And again, they've like spec'd them out. Like they've got these, like you've clearly got gear, you've got radios, half them got like night vision goggles on. And like, you're telling me like, just that like that they didn't put up a fight. So I just find that a little weird, but we'll come back to that in a minute. The main drug dealer also gets attacked by 2, like basically prostitutes that are hired to come see him, which was pretty noticeable that was going to happen. It was pretty obvious, but I actually kind of liked it. Like it was a realistic fight to me, because like they were 2 like maybe 100-pound women that were just like whacking on him and didn't have any training. Like they were just punching him. Like they didn't have any, like, you know, and like he's obviously a lot more built than they were. and he's kind of getting beat up by surprise, and then he actually gets the tables turned on them and a couple of good suckers into them, and he gets them on the ground, right? And I actually think it was pretty realistic. I really believe that was a good fight, just because of that reason. It wasn't just like, oh, they hit him twice in the head and they knocked him out instantly. You know, he clearly has fought before. But it builds his Rambo character, which I don't like, though. But I like that he could, like, in hand-to-hand combat, he would win against these two women. And just because they had to jump on him, they didn't have any training. They don't know how to fight or anything. So they were just, like, randomly hitting him, right? And you could tell, like, it was like he clearly knew what he was doing, in a way. Sorry, it's just a spider on me. I don't know. I'm just going to die in a second. I slapped it, though. I don't know how it's going to come back for vengeance. Or it's dead. I don't know. But anyway... So, yeah, like I was saying, so that's interesting. So, anyway, so yeah, he's been killing people out in the street the whole time. They've had a couple interactions, but his whole thing is he's driving around listening to one of the radios he picked up, and they're not using codes or anything. They're literally go to apartment block 3B or something, and he's like, oh, okay, we should go there. Yeah, so he's just driving around, like, defending people, which I think is funny. So, one of the scenes with... where all the churchgoers was. By the way, no white people in the church. I just want to comment on that. And if there was, I didn't see one of them. I literally rewatched it. Like, I didn't see any. There's like a van that drives by, like a truck with some people on it, and they're all dressed as like KKK members. And I just find like it's kind of like in bad taste, because like the whole movie is supposed to be that it's in a lower income area, you know, like it's like quote unquote the projects. And that's supposedly why you see a lot of black people and a lot of minorities, you know, like Mexicans and whatever. And I just think that's kind of BS. Like, there's more than just that kind of race living there. And it's one of the things the Google reviews talk about a lot, and I think people are getting flamed on it. Like, if you praise the movie really, really well, but don't bring up that it's totally race-based, like, you know, you're like an evil person or something. I'm just commenting on what I see in the movie, right? I have nothing wrong with you know, the lead roles being any skin color. I don't care. But it's always an interesting concept when they do that, and then they're shoving stuff down your throat, like, again, KKK members. There's actually a really good scene where the drug dealer fights a militia guy, you know, hand to hand in a hallway in a staircase. I think it's really well done, because it's really, I think it's nicely choreographed, right? Like, and they're not cutting away a lot, so it looked really good. And it was like gritty, right? They were like right on each other, strangling each other. It was good. And he lifts up the mask on the guy. It's like a white guy, like I think it's a Russian guy. And he just goes like, "Get out of my neighborhood." It's like, it's kind of dumb, right? Like, you don't need to do that. I'm not saying like toss a black guy and there's an evil person, but like it's just this classic, like every single white guy was evil in the government except the one girl. You know, if there was no white characters at all in the cast getting killed, they go to the projects, just making it assumed that, like, again, it's only minorities there. You know, I grew up poor, like, I get that, you know, but I don't know, I just thought it was a little bit in bad taste. And a lot of the reviews say that. It's like, you don't need to shove that down people's throats a lot. And then if someone actually comments on it and they're like, wow, this is a great movie, but clearly, you know, a bunch of racists, or that, you know, or it's a bunch of angry white people that, you know, because it's like, this is what you did. Like, I didn't do any of this stuff, right? Like, we need to move. That's the way you go past it, is you move past it. You don't shove that down someone's throats. Like, we know that. You know, it's no different than, like, you know, World War II, right? Like, you're not shoving that down the throats of people as well, right? That's history. So I just thought that was odd. I didn't really like that in the movie. I mean, it didn't, like, necessarily take it away from the movie, but it was still, like, in the back of my mind that it's like, yeah, you know, you probably could have did this a little better. Again, like, and that's the idea also behind the Purge, and I kind of get that as well, where it's like, oh, okay, like, you want to eliminate the poor. A lot of the poor might be minorities. Okay, I get it. But, like, again, like, that's not always going to be the case. So just toss a white person in there, and I don't think it would have been a problem. Toss an Asian person in there, wouldn't have been a problem. But, like, it was literally just, I'm pretty sure it was, like, literally just, like, Hispanics, like, Mexicans, and, like, black people, which is fine. But I know it's an edgy topic, but I think you could have just tossed a few extra people in there. Even have a black person going in and shooting them. It didn't matter, right? But anyway, I don't really understand it. It's just an odd concept to me. You know, none of the other Purge movies have done that, like, to that degree, where they're like, okay, cool, we're going to make, you know, all these white people, the homeless people. They didn't do that. You know, I don't care. I don't care if there's no white people in it. It's just like, you know, don't segregate it, like, so badly. And And again, like if it would have just been like the white people were like the evil rich people, and then it was like the minorities getting killed off, and they just kind of did that, it's fine. But they literally drove around as KKK members, like dressed up as them. And again, like the comment of like, get out of my neighborhood. There's other comments, but it's like, you know, that I can't recall off the top of my head. But it just doesn't need to be in there, you know. And I think it took away from the movie. It probably wouldn't have made the rating any better, but I think it took away from it because now you're focused more on that. And you're like, oh, why are they doing that? Like, that's just out of place. So to continue on to Rambo, and he's actually probably, in my opinion, the worst part of the movie. I think he ruins it for me. Not even what I just went about for like 3 minutes. I think he alone kind of ruins it. So he gets into that apartment building. There's obviously like an evil militia with like the evil white guy going around and killing them, right, in the apartment building. And he just goes in and he's taking them out like it's nothing. And I'm just so like fed up with that in a movie. Like, again, like, why are the militia there, right? Because it's evidently, it's not to actually do anything combat related. This one guy is killing them so easily. He ends up getting shot and killed at the end, and you're like, who cares, right? And that's basically the end of the movie. Yeah, like I said, overall thoughts in the movie, I think it's way too action-oriented. I think they really need to, like, dial it down. And by dial it down, I mean, like, really dial it down. I think, like, it's just way too much. You know, there's just... It's not what it was. It was a cool concept, and I don't think they have it anymore. Honestly, at the third movie, I didn't think they had it. I think they expanded on it in the second, and then they lost it in the third. Apparently, people think this is the best one out of the series. I'm a little confused as why. But if you want like a really generic like action flick where it's kind of like, wow, it's a little creepy, then this is the perfect movie for you. So, all right, thanks for watching, everybody. Hopefully I'm not downvoted to oblivion for my thoughts there. But again, I'm just throwing it out there. So, all right, take it easy. Peace. Thanks for watching, you pencil pushers. If you guys want to check out my Instagram here, I've just got it in the background. It's Nick Daniels Photography with an underscore in between each word where I post every day. That's a lie. Thanks for watching. Peace.